Okay, now we're ready to transfer one of our drawings onto a bigger piece of paper. So I'm just starting with my name and class code on the back. You're going to do the same. And then remember, it's up to you whether your paper is vertical or horizontal. So I think I'm going to choose some elements that I like from all 4 of my sketches. And remember, we want to keep the design simple. So I liked that kind of big plant I had in the foreground of one of my sketches. I'm going to add that in there. I'm still keeping my spaces nice and big. I'll be using a kind of big paintbrush to fill this in a few minutes. So now I'm using some curved lines to create the landscape in the middle ground. I've got some mountains, and then my water line, and then I'm having a sun kind of coming up on the horizon. Now, I think I might want to change the way this mountain is. I'm making it come in a little bit more so that it's not all perfectly lined up. Now it's time to use some paint. So we are going to use tempera cakes, and we activate those using water. So we get a little bit of water on our brush, and right now we're just trying to block in the color because you're going to be painting in small brush strokes on top of this next time or once this is dry. So I'm going to work from the top to the bottom of my paper. So background, through the middle ground, and to the foreground. I like to kind of outline the space that I'm going to fill in first and then paint it in. But the goal is just to get a layer of paint covering all of the white space. So I'm using my brush kind of all in the same direction. When my brush stops working, I add more water. So working with tempera cakes, you want to just make sure you're keeping a balance between the amount of water and the amount of paint that you're using. I want to get kind of a smooth layer of color. So some things to remember as you're painting is make sure that you are cleaning your brush completely if you're going to switch colors. So right now I'm finished with my orange. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I've got one more layer of orange, so I'm gonna fill that in, and then I'll make sure that I go ahead and wash my paintbrush. Now, if you're thinking, why is your landscape gonna be orange and not a brown or something neutral? Remember, you're gonna layer on top of this with another kind of paint with brush strokes that are really gonna make the color stand out. So if you are not seeing a color that you wanted in the tempera cakes, don't worry, it's okay. You will have other options with our liquid tempera paint that you can use that's really gonna communicate the color of your landscape. Remember, this is the base layer. It's going to show up in between the brush strokes. So I'm filling in my water, and you might have noticed I kind of had a paint puddle that was very wet up toward the top of my water, and what I did was I just took my paintbrush without a lot of extra water on it and spread it out. So if you wind up with puddly paint, you can do that too. And my last little step is going to be to clean off this paintbrush and then pick a color for my plant. When you have all of the spaces filled on your paper, no white is left, that means you are done with today's steps and you are ready for next week.